Hello and welcome to another one of my thoughts videos. In this one I'm going to continue on from the ozone scam to the next scam, but it really fits into the matrix topic. It's a sort of a matrixy type of topic, and that is of the scam of overpopulation, world overpopulation. Now, way back in the Industrial Revolution, the 19th century was so successful it ushered in a domino effect of interesting events where the multinationals basically formed by making some people extremely rich, particularly in the United States, without the governing forces that would regulate them, and they managed to explode into extremely rich people and then into corporations, which eventually went into multinational corporations. And the results of that was that by World War I, they had enough money to do a business deal of doing World War I. That was so successful, they followed very quickly after that and did the business deal of World War II. Now, a consequence of killing off so many people in wars is, one, making lots of money, which they did, and secondly is that it inspires people to rebuild and appreciate the life they have as the survivors of the war, and they put a lot of energy and effort into rebuilding. And that meant that they also began to have a lot of children, and then you got the baby boomers of the 60s, the 50s and 60s, of which I'm the tail end of. And that gave us the rise to increased population, and then the great scam started to appear as I got to high school, saying, oh, the world is overpopulated. That didn't seem to make sense, because I know there's a lot of empty space on the planet and unutilized space and resources on the planet. Now, a lot of people wouldn't even consider that as a scam or anything. It's just, oh, so what? And that worked to the elite's advantage, and the overpopulation in the world became a goal of theirs. And you will notice that on the 10 major goals for 2020 and all that is to reduce world population. Even into the 1990s, we started to see that this was basically a scam that nobody was really interested in, and not even having their eyes open. Here we are another 30 or 40 years later, and they're only just starting to officially recognize that there might be a problem. But it's a problem that has been going on for quite a while, a scam that has been quietly working its way for decades, in fact. Now, the current medical Third World War we're having at the moment of an attempted biological warfare, instead of fighting in the trenches of the World War I, World War II is a lot more sophisticated, and then after that they could see that it wasn't economically sensible to blow up the planet with bombs and killing each other. It was much better to do it more subtly. They could make a lot more money while conserving resources by doing something like a biological warfare, and that's exactly what they are doing at the moment. How successful they will be is neither here nor there at the moment concerning this discussion. The numbers of people that have died through this scam, medical scam, is combined with those who will be dying as a continuation of injections and things due to the medical scam. We will not necessarily be the main cause of a population decline. It's only one of the contributing factors. Now, a lot of people are starting to wake up to that possibility that the aim behind this medical World War III is to try and reduce world population. And those that are perpetrating it have stated it publicly that that is their goal, to reduce world population. But what you need to know as part of understanding the scam is that they've been going for my entire lifetime, and there are many different factors which have been put into place which guarantees an imminent world decline, which we are already into already, and that the authorities in bigger countries are only just willing to start to recognize maybe on the horizon, because they're actually going into their decline. When you look at the fertility rates of the world, they have dropped drastically. There are many different tactics that they have used. One is urbanization. When I was young, the world was only 20% urbanized. Now it's 80 to 90%. Cities are excellent for encouraging people to think that they're overcrowded, because in the cities they are, and they don't realize there's humongous amounts of space around between the cities. There are, in actual fact, places in the United States, for all its technology and going to Mars and all those sorts of things, there are places in the States that have never actually been explored, even to this day. And there are parts of the world which are just totally vacant for heaps and heaps. I've seen studies to say that you could fit the entire population of the world into the state of Texas with a house each. And you could also fit them standing on the island of Stewart Island, which is this little itty bitty island south end of New Zealand, if you gave them standing room only. The world is not actually overpopulated, but they tell us that. And there are many other things apart from urbanization. There is the gay agenda, which means that for every gay there are another 3 people that won't procreate. Abortion kills off more people than all of the World War I and II and other wars all put together. That has created a disparity in China of at least 20 million women missing to bear children now. And China has realized that it is headed for a crisis because of its one-child policy. There are now allowed 2 and then 3, but they know that they are going to fail. They are going for a drastic shrink. Now, if you take a look at the fertility of the world, they've done a good mind job, a scam job on the entire population to try and condition us to not have children. My parents used to have 8 or 10 or 12 children. I had 5, and they say that 2.1 children to replace a population is necessary, but even that is not accurate. You need 1 for mother to replace mother, 1 to replace father, and they say another 0.1, but that is actually not very accurate, because when you consider the number of people that are infertile, which is well over 24% at the moment, it's getting worse and worse. The people that die from accidents and sickness before they have children between the ages of 13 and 40 are about 1 in 5, and also those that will never marry, stay single, or are infertile is also about 1 in 5. And so that means you actually have to have 1 for mother, 1 for father, 1 for sickness, 1 for sterility, and 1 for accident and death. So you actually need between 4 and 5 children to replace a population. Now, some of you will be freaking out to hear that, but calm down and do the math. If you have less than 2, you are automatically, mathematically, going to have a rapid population decrease. Now, if you look at the world map of fertility, you can see that the vast majority of the world is on a negative fertility rate. That means they're definitely going to shrink. Places like Bulgaria have already lost half of their population in recent years, and there are at least 28, last count that I had, that are losing population. Many of the countries are maintaining their population just by immigration from larger places like China, Asia, and more populous areas. And that is, of course, hiding the fact that they are actually losing population, like New Zealand. Now, China is now headed for a huge drop. And when you look at that world map, you have to also take into account where the largest countries are and what state they're in. If they are replacing themselves, the world is fine. But if the largest countries are going to lose population, they are going to lose drastically worldwide. If China has restricted its population to 1 child per family, it's going to have at least a 50% or higher drop in population very soon. And that means that at 1.4 billion people, they're going to need at least 700 million immigrants to replace the other 700 million they're going to be lacking. And all of the immigration in the entire world could not satisfy that need for just China. And that's the largest country in the world with a fifth of the world's population. So if China dips out, that's a fifth of the world's population is going to dip out. Next is India, and it is heading in the same route, but about 20 years later. The states in Europe and all the others are already in decline. So that means a humongous world decline is imminent, and it just cannot be stopped. And there's nothing we can do except have lots of children, I suppose. But you should not do a knee-jerk reaction and have heaps. But that is a very much Matrix-like program that the Matrix has written, this program that we have been fed, and the complexities of the program involved many different tactics to try and exterminate us. And whether you like it or not, the current Third World War, biological war, is only one of the tactics they are using. It won't reduce the population in huge amounts, but collectively with all the other tactics, we are definitely heading for a drop. Now, you have to consider, if you have no population, you have no economy. And the countries that are in population crisis now, like Greece, Bulgaria, Russia and other countries, are realizing that. Italy is another, that if you have no people, you have no economy. And so what is the logic behind trying to decrease the world population? Unfortunately, evil people are evil for no particular reason. They don't care destroying just to destroy. And so there is no great logic except self-destruction. So that is another scam that we are progressing into. It will be an interesting theatre, work of theatre as it were, a show, a movie to watch as the population of the world really goes into a nosedive. It has already started and they're only just starting to recognise it publicly, but it's well on its way, and it will be interesting to see the economic and social fallout of that, the world's largest population shrink that we have ever witnessed in humanity. Fun to be in this time of history, isn't it? Have a great week.